Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. With that, we move on to the panel discussion titled How CIOs Can Drive Organization Change. And we have a power-packed panel with us. And I'd first like to welcome and introduce the members of this panel. Rupesh Nain, Chief Information Officer, Adani Group. Ankur Aggarwal, Managing Director Technology at Accenture, India. Abhinav Gupta, Vice President Engineering at Meesho. And Ramkumar Mohan, Chief Information Officer, Airworks India Engineering Private Limited. Ramkumar will join us in a few minutes from now. This session will be moderated by Chaitali Mukherjee, Partner and Leader, HR Transformation at PwC India. Chaitali, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ivan. It's a complete pleasure to actually be having this conversation with an absolutely esteemed audience. Particularly, I think the topic, when I was, connected to run this session, I was very intrigued because we are talking about CIOs. And as I lead the Human Capital HR Transformation Consulting Division, one of the biggest challenges that we face on a day in, day out basis when we are actually trying to drive technology-led transformation is how do we get technology-led transformation to be no more be seen as what technology does, but what humans do with technology. And so great audience over here and great panelists over here. I actually would start up with you, Rupesh. Rupesh, the role that you are actually in at a group level, it's a very interesting place where you are able to see both from a close lens as well as from a far off lens, how organizations are using technology to drive large scale transformation. Yet the whole investment that actually gets done in driving transformation and technology, it meets, not always the kind of success that we are actually seeking. So as a leader, when you are driving this transformation agenda in your organization, what are the 2 or 3 big challenges that you see in driving the change? What are the impediments that are coming in the way?
Okay, thank you very much. And a very good question that way. So as you rightly said, digital transformation is given in today's context. So every organization is embarking on that journey. Though different organizations at different levels or in their journey, some are at initial stage, some are at more advanced stages, but everyone has followed a path. So first and foremost for leadership is walk the talk. So whatever we are embarking has to be top driven, but involve the people at the lowest level of the organization as well. So that is the most critical element, which is people element. So any even technology-led transformation or any transformation is basically about change management, and change management is about people. Because if people are aligned to that vision, that mission, or that objective, and they see value for them in that journey, they are more than happy to participate fully. So that is first and fundamental thing which should be there. So to do that, of course, HR intervention in terms of creating a digital culture in the organization is equally important. Similarly, on the technology side, for each and every business problem, you will find one or the other way to solve it using technology. But most important is to identify where we want to go and what is our ultimate objective. So to achieve those objectives, what are the business problems we want to solve? That is first we have to identify. And then we have to identify the right technology to solve those problems. Next important pillar in this journey becomes the implementation or technology partners you choose. Because many times they are good in understanding the technology or implementing the technology, but business domain knowledge is equally important. Because once they are there, they are your extended partners. And as extended partners, they have to understand the business in and out. And it is not very easy to understand business for an outside consultant to simply come and do that immediately. For that, the internal business leaders or the technology leaders have to help them out in understanding the business fully. And then during the journey also, both these internal teams and the external partner have to work hand in hand. So this is fundamental. Apart from this, which generally sometimes derail because of the governance. So when all these elements are there, then we should have a proper governance mechanism from start to end. And end is not when the implementation is done, but end is when implementation is done, and now adoption has to start. So even we have to carry the people along with us during the adoption phase, because the initial few months are very, very critical. If the adoption challenges are being addressed immediately and in a very, very soft manner, so that everybody feels that, okay, it is a new thing, new way of working for us, but we have to jointly cross that bridge. And once that is there, and everybody is fully equipped to handle those new ways of doing activities, then it becomes smooth sailing. So for that, you have to have champions within the business who should, like in a traditional manner, we say train the trainers. So there has to be champions, and these champions have to support the other business colleagues in terms of adoption within the organization. If these couple of points which I mentioned are taken care of or addressed, I believe most of the digital transformations can be successful, because mostly it is not about the failure of technology, but it is about the adoption or implementation or getting the people along with this change, which creates more of hurdles rather than technology in itself.
In fact, beautifully put, Rupesh. You have set the context beautifully. You spoke about three very critical pieces. First and foremost, across the spine, right from the top, the vertical alignment, what the leadership is thinking, what the user eventually will actually get, and does he or she understand why this change is important, not just for the organization, but for his or her way of working, number one. Number two, and I completely relate to that, what he said, Rupesh, it's as they say, you need a village to raise a child. Digital transformation is pretty much like raising a child, right? It is about
Right.
getting everybody on board. And one of the big pieces that you need to get on board are the right partners. And the choice of partners that you called out, Rupesh, is significant. What we consider in the choice of partners, it is not just about the technology that they know, the industry that they know, but how well do they understand how to sieve it into the organization. The third important piece that you did call out over there was it's never possible for outsiders to come and run it for us. It is imminent for my leaders and the team to almost operate like one team to actually make that happen. And finally, the journey actually begins after implementation, because the proof of the pudding is in adoption.
Yes.
All things being equal, if everything gets done, but if adoption doesn't happen, then most of the money has actually gone down the drain, isn't it? So,
Right.
excellent setup, Rupesh, to stand up and say why Chaitali, who leads human capital consulting, is actually driving this conversation with CIOs, because eventually it's all about people, internal or external. On that note, maybe Abhinav, I'll come to you first. And when you think of driving this whole transformation with clients, with organizations, what have you seen as the biggest missed opportunities? Rupesh has beautifully called out the key ingredients, but it's like missing some key opportunities that we know but we are not able to do. What would those be, Abhinav?
So, as we all are talking about people, and that's a beautiful aspect to talk about, right? So, I'll attach one topic to people itself. So, one thing that tends to take a backseat is dev productivity, right? So, we need to make sure that while we are driving a change into the system, while we are talking about the digital transformation, we are making sure that the environment that we provide to the engineers in your technology team, and for that matter to business, to product people, is very productive, very comfortable, and kind of smooth, where people are able to spend their time beautifully and create products and features for your company, and in turn drive the revenue. So dev productivity is all about the tools, the environments, the kind of infrastructure that we provide to our engineers who who use that to code the products, right? So the productivity is one of the important aspects that we need to focus on, and in my experience, I've seen that it tends to take backseat. So it's directly related to people and their productivity, and we need to focus quite a lot on that.
Thanks, Abhinav. That's so. Here you have driving clarity from the leadership right to the bottom of the pyramid, helping everybody contextualize it in their and getting clarity on roles of both internal and external stakeholders, but also getting the whole ecosystem right, getting the dev environment right, because if that is not there, even an alliance system will not be able to deliver much, right? So I'm going to now come to you, Ankur. So Ankur, to a great extent, you and I are on the same boat, right? So let's hear it from the other side. When you think of some of these journeys of driving digital transformation, what have you seen across the spectrum of customers and across the spectrum of industries, the common pitfalls that organizations face?
Thanks, Chaitali. And I absolutely am able to relate to what Rupesh mentioned and what you were also referring to. I mean, first and foremost, absolutely, organizations need to stay focused on assembling the right talent. This includes leveraging all the external partners in the ecosystem and orienting efforts around concrete value and business outcomes. But it's impossible to create a common understanding amongst employees if there isn't a common vision, between all the leadership in the organization. So we identified the number one challenge facing digital transformation as a bit of an unspoken disagreement amongst top managers about goals or what the digital transformation is supposed to achieve, right? Also, one of the researches that we did reveals that a significant percentage of the company's employees are unaware of or do not really understand the strategy and how digital transformation will enable that strategy. And imagine if the employees who are the closest to the customers are unaware of the strategy, they surely cannot help the organizations implement it effectively. Now, while a vision that is set up can be a compass in the right direction, but you surely need a roadmap to turn those aspirations into actions, correct? So the vision that the leadership defines needs to be embedded into the designs, the plans, priorities, and day-to-day concrete aspects of the transformation. Making sure people have explicit authority to design the solutions for transformation, which are relevant for the business, is so critical. I couldn't agree more to the other point that Rupesh was mentioning around the aspect that some companies neglect in setting up the right governance model, defining the value creation office, as we say it, right? And governance and related controls are the foundation of a successful transformation. It is imperative to establish a clear decision-making and transparent reporting so that transformation can move both at speed as well as adapt to change. If I can summarize, there are 4 key components, right? First one is vision, a compelling vision that is at the core of every successful transformation. It must be set with purpose. It definitely needs to be articulated with precision and communicated clearly. It should be creating a persistent drumbeat that guides the organization, right? Second is the absolute 360-degree. An approach which delivers the promised benefits to the organization. It articulates measures and ensures progress towards the business outcomes that the digital transformation is supposed to deliver. Third bit is the integration, right? So end-to-end integration of the transformation plans and solutions help the vision and the value that needs to be achieved. And last, absolutely, talent, right? People are at the heart of transformation. It is really critical to engage the right talent at the right time, and enable leaders as change catalysts, as Rupesh was also mentioning, build skills for the future and embed new ways of working into the organization.
Thanks, Ankur. So you started off with the first and the most critical one that even we have seen as part of our research, right? Which is, have a vision, digital purpose, as we call it, or a digital vision. And in fact, many a times in conversations with clients, one of our biggest conversations is, how many of your people actually know the business vision? And they say most. And then we say, what do you think is going to make your vision successful? They call out 2 important elements: people and technology. And then we say, how many people understand the role of technology in them being enabled to deliver on the vision? And that is somewhere in between, right? Because in our lives, we almost assume a few things. This is one of those perennial assumptions that business vision, if well understood, intelligent, aligned people will also understand its ramifications on technology and hence give a wholehearted support to technology. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen because we are all looking at technology. I like to call it like, the six blind men looking at the elephant from six different directions. And we're looking at different parts of it. And that's where, the ball gets dropped. So Ankur can't agree more on the vision, the blueprint, ensuring that I'm building the commitment, and most importantly, getting the capabilities right in making that happen. I see Ram, I can see you. So I would actually want to get you to chime in a little bit over here and hear from you. As the future is changing, we have seen the past 2 years, and it has been so now nobody needs to go and explain the business case for driving technology transformation. It's the other way around. You're actually having to say, I use this term a lot, festina lente, which means hasten slowly. A lot of organizations are wanting to get everything done in quick succession now because we believe technology will solve all the problems. How are you seeing some of these shifts happening at a greater pace, not just for today, but for tomorrow, Ram? So as a CIO sitting inside an organization, when you look at some of these issues, what is the biggest pushback you are having to make in driving technology transformation?
Thanks. Hope you are able to hear me.
You, Ram, you can go on.
Okay, you are able to hear me, right? Hello?
Hey, Ram, we can hear you.
Siddhan?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay,
Can you hear
right.
us? Yeah, please go
Sorry.
on. Yeah.
Sorry about poor connectivity that I have. Okay. Now, the challenges that I face as a CIO, I come from payments and now this industry, though some of the challenges are common, but then coming from a previous and MRO background, is very less as an industry and as a domain. Now, as we all agree and understand that digital transformation present organizes unique opportunities to innovate, grow, reimagine the way we run our business. But it also throws challenges. In my case, the first and foremost challenge that I would like to share is the cultural challenge. That's something I've been dealing for quite some time from the industry. And moreover, the organization with 70 years of legacy, then it becomes.
Ram, if you just hold the mic closer to your mouth, if you could just hold the mic closer. Yeah, I think they should get better. Thanks.
Yeah. So, working in an organization with having 70 years of legacy, it brings much more challenges in terms of cultural change. Now, as an industry and as an organization, we have been following certain way of doing things for so many years, and bringing any technology transformation or digital transformation. It's been a challenge because of the mindset and the way people find it difficult to adopt. So, so in our case, just doing digital transformation, it's not very helpful. We'll have to.
I think Ram's voice is breaking, but what I could actually pick up as a gist was the big challenge that he was calling, which I call as the elephant in the room, is the culture. And the culture is all about our beliefs from the past, what has worked for us, what will not work for us. And I think if there is one role that actually lives it day in, day out in the organization, is actually technology leaders, or CIOs, should I say. Because the CIOs are actually expected to drive transformation in the same environment. And that brings me to a very interesting question, Rupesh, which I'm going to ask you. Sorry to put you on that spot for that one. But if you had to think of, and emanating from the whole culture conversation, right? The moment we talk culture, what we're talking somewhere is about leadership capability. So when you think of driving digital transformation or tech-led transformation in organizations, and as you think about the future, not just today, and if you had to call out a few big shifts that business and technology leaders both need to make in their capabilities, what would those be? So maybe Rupesh, you could call out business leaders, what is the shift they need to make in their capabilities, and also technology leaders.
So, very interesting question, and probably the answer everybody is trying to find out to be successful for the future. And I believe next gen CIO, the topic also resonates with that. So every business is a technology business in today's world. First, we have to understand that. Second, we have to see the business leaders have to be technology leaders, and technology leaders have to be business leaders. When I say like this, it means the technology leaders with only understanding of technology or without business understanding of business issues, understanding of business complexities, and how exactly business runs on ground, they cannot solve problems. And similarly for the business leaders, unless until they, I don't say that they need to know the coding and other stuff, but they definitely need to know what capabilities technology can bring into the business. So this alignment has to be there on both sides. So both have to go closer to each other. And in that, many times I've seen some organizations have adopted a mechanism where new graduate engineer trainees or management trainees are supporting the business leaders with new age technologies. And I believe that is a great idea because, as I mentioned about walk the talk, unless until, because we are attuned to do work in a certain fashion. And if we talk about digital transformation and I still continue to operate in the old fashioned manner where I will take printout of every mail and then I will either mark something or that, then other people see. And then even if you want to communicate, you have vision, everything, people see that things are not changing at the top level, how it will change at the ground level. So that message has to go throughout the organization and everybody, especially it is the responsibility of the top leadership to walk the talk. So that is very, very important in that understanding. And I believe that is the reason if you see going forward organizations, even in the management institutes where we are studying normal traditional management concepts of marketing, finance, HR and others, technology is very much ingrained in those studies also. And secondly, going forward, whenever business leaders are talking, technology is also one of the agenda items in their discussion topics among themselves. And that is going to be a big shift. Similarly, on the other side, the traditional IT heads or CIOs, which were mainly responsible for IT infrastructure, they are after the cloud adoption and all, they are not talking much about those things. They are also talking more about business. And if they are not talking, they have to talk, otherwise they will not survive. So that way, it is a shift which has to be there. And I see there is a genuine shift happening. But going forward, the pace or the change which will happen or at speed will really accelerate. So this is the fundamental shift in both the understanding and the way of working at both the levels, whether at the technology level or at the business level.
So Rupesh beautifully responded to this one. I think there are two important pieces that you called out that I would want to, reshare. Number one, what you said was considering all organizations in the future, if not already today, are a tech company first. The fact that I cannot be a business leader if I don't have what we call as a common minimum understanding of technology. And you're absolutely right. It doesn't mean that I have to become a digital wizard, as we call it, but your ability to connect the dots as the business leader and make sense using technology becomes absolutely critical. At the other end, what you also called out beautifully, and I think quite importantly, is technology leaders in isolation. So the time of I is actually gone, is the way I talk about it, right? We used to take so much pride in being an I, or at best a T. It's actually multiple T's coming together in terms of deep industry expertise. And there is another leg to it, which is the technology expertise along with the business. And I think that's the persona of the leaders of the future, where technology and business understanding is supposed to coexist. So I completely believe very important consideration. And some business schools, engineering colleges, and all professional institutes are waking up to the fact, I will say, Rupesh, isn't it? They're yet not there, but they are definitely waking up to it. The important one that you did call, which was youngsters interning with business leaders. In a very nice manner, you have soft launched what is called the concept of reverse mentoring, or leaders practicing what we call as vulnerability. Because most of the leaders today, are not digital natives. So we didn't wake up and get access to phones, mobiles, so on and so forth. So our understanding of that is slightly limited, but there are digital natives who actually understand it way better. So how do we partner with them? So you have actually spoken about transgression of capabilities. Digital meets business, young talent meets tenured talent to actually create a more homogeneous ecosystem in the organization rather than practice the whole heterogeneity that we have always had, isn't it, Rupesh?
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Abhinav, let me come to you. So we heard Ankur beautifully talk about the single most important agenda. A business vision without a digital vision will never get fulfilled, at least from the technology side. I think most organizations like capability are also waking up to it. So they somewhere understand that that is very critical. Yet, when organizations go on that path, it doesn't happen the way organizations think they will do it. What do you think is happening in this whole transmission or in this translation?
Sure. So it is bound to happen that things don't result into what we want them to result into, and in stipulated amount of time. Plans do go haywire when there's not enough thought process put into the planning, right? So the single most important and vital thing that we need to carry on is basically put a lot of thought into what we are planning to do, specifically when it comes to digital transformation. Hire right talent to carry on those responsibilities, own those responsibilities, be accountable for that, right? Hire the problem solvers, right? Not just hire people who would just operate the tools that we get from our technology partners, or or we buy a tool or a solution from outside, right? Because there's always this healthy debate that we would always have been having, and I focus quite a lot on putting time into those healthy debates. Is basically build versus buy, right? So what can you build within your organization? How do you hire right talent to build those tools and solutions, right? Or you go out and explore the problems which are already solved by some other companies, right? Do you go and buy those solutions from outside? Right, so that's one of the important factor where if we don't put enough time into that we might end up delaying the changes that we want to bring in, or we might end up failing altogether in the end, right? So from my point of view, having a healthy debate around build versus buy and hiring right talent to maybe build tools and technologies within the organization is very, very important.
So, Abhinav, you have beautifully touched upon capabilities, the missing capabilities that organizations need to convert the vision into digital strategy and vision, and from that into what we call as execution and blueprint that Ankur was saying. Ankur, let me come to you. In the era that we are living in, it is impossible to have a conversation with so many CIOs and not talk cloud. So let's hear it from you, Ankur. When you think of cloud in the context of digital transformation, what do you think is the role of cloud to drive this whole digital transformation, not just today, but into the future? And if you had to rattle down a list of criteria to choose the right cloud strategy, because I'm saying cloud strategy is a critical part of your digital strategy, what would that be?
Absolutely, Chaitali. As companies today are accelerating their digital transformation journeys, cloud adoption is absolutely becoming an imperative. It's not about if and why, it's about when, right? However, each organization has unique needs and their vision, and one size fits all doesn't absolutely work. This is absolutely true for cloud solutions as well. In this context, there are multiple criteria to look at or to choose the right cloud strategy. One of the most important in cloud adoption is fit for purpose. I mean, your cloud strategy should exist to enable business strategy, right? It's not like just getting a tool or a technology platform or a cloud just for the sake of it. Compute cycles are absolutely commodity these days. So it's not just about migrating to the cloud, but rather integrating cloud into the entire business value chain is how it should be looked at. Choosing the right cloud types, whether it is, hybrid, public, private, multi-cloud environments, or various cloud models, SaaS, PaaS, or infrastructure as a service, or cloud products, microservices, portability, or finally the cloud provider, right? These are important brainstorming points for the diversified internal teams who need to take decisions around these. There are also aspects of industry-specific regulatory and compliance adherence, which need to be considered. These are very important for industries like life sciences or pharmaceuticals. The entire aspect of data governance, security, data management is also very important. It said that first step towards digital transformation is transitioning to a hybrid cloud. But while that's a big step towards building agility and resilience into the crux of processes, it also has a significant bearing on data security. So that also needs to be very carefully looked at. Partnerships and integrations are key here. When choosing a cloud provider, one needs to think about an ecosystem rather than just a single product or a single provider. The overall plan for adoption becomes very imperative and important as well. These migrations, these projects are complex. They take time for organizations to develop skills within the people, and these are necessary across multiple functional areas because a lot of them get affected. So that's also a key consideration. Last but not the least, it's not that every application needs to be migrated to the cloud, right? And not every application is right to be moved to the hyperscale cloud. I'd like to say that cloud is not just a place; it's a strategy. It's a framework for future success of organizations, which is at the heart of digital transformation.
Thanks, Ankur. And leaving aside the elements which differentiate one cloud over the other, all the other pieces that you just called out are so true for any digital transformation, even if it is not a cloud strategy, but maybe a SaaS strategy or something else. The important piece that you called out over here, Ankur, was ecosystem. We all understand, all of us on this call and everybody on the other side, that the future is about solving extremely complex problems, problems which we should identify and make it as big as possible, but not attempt to solve it on our own. Because our problem is we try to break the problem into a size and a scale that we can manage. And that's where the problem actually starts. Because the moment we try to make it something that I can manage, I have actually broken down the real opportunity, isn't it? So, Rupesh, I'm going to come to you. As CIOs from the industry, how you all are influencing the whole place, what's your ask of the ecosystem? And here, your ecosystem undoubtedly is the whole industry, isn't it? Your business leaders, your partners, your alliances. What's your ask of the ecosystem to take digital transformation as a problem to be solved at a pan-India level to the next level? What is your ask of the ecosystem?
So, in some of the discussions today itself, we discussed about it is not about me, and more so, it is now not about the organization also. It is more about the as you rightly said, about ecosystem. When it comes to ecosystem, whether it is our industry peers, many business problems have been solved by the industrial groups, where maybe from automotive companies have come together to solve a problem, where different industrial groups have been formed to solve a business problem. CII, FICCI, these people are also engaged with industries in solving the problem. Currently, we have started in that domain, which was there in advanced countries like US, where industry and academia were working together from start. So from that angle, it is, and you have to co-create an environment where even if you are competing with each other, but some of the pain areas you can solve by coming together rather than competitive. Of course, competition will remain. If two companies are there in the same industry, there will be competition. But if we see a larger problem for the economy, larger problem for industry, then people have to come together and find a solution, because it is a win-win for them. Because currently problem is, if a particular industry is not solving a problem, a new set of people will come and they will solve a problem, and probably this will be a big danger to the industry itself. So you take example of automotive. Now automotive industries are threatened by technology companies, because car is not more of a mechanical thing. Now it is more about your experience, your when you are in the car, how comfortable, convenience, uh, uh, the user experience, all these have become more prominent rather than the car itself. So similarly, people have to come together if they want to really survive and thrive. So therein, people have to identify the right set of partners, and in that, large companies can co-partner with startups which are niche, but they are very having skills in a particular domain. And
Yep.
product is not a product in itself nowadays. If you see, generally most of the products are converting into a service, and when products are converting into service, then many different elements are clubbing together into a product. And for that, you need to have a partnership with other people, wherein you create ecosystem and deliver a service to customers which they really like, and you can make them attached to that for longer runs and survive and thrive. So that is the way forward, I see. But of course, it is not that easy as is being said by me or people say. It is really takes a lot of pain, attention, and focus, because these relationships take time to build, and then there has to be trust among these partners, and which is not that easy. So it is a difficult problem, but people are getting into this and finding solutions into this.
Super, Rupesh. I think one of the best things that you have actually just called out right now is get the definition of transformation right. and the opportunity to look at digital transformation, not at an organization, but at an ecosystem level, because if we don't do it, somebody else will do it, and we might actually become redundant. So I think a very important point, if we are scared of disrupting ourselves, if digital transformation is all about disruption, if we don't disrupt ourselves, somebody else will actually come and disrupt ourselves. And I like to summarize our entire conversation here to say, assuming we know what we are trying to do, the 4 key things: are we getting our digital strategy right? Are we getting the capability and culture right? Are we getting the ecosystem, the technology, the infrastructure right? And most importantly, are we driving constant commitment building and communication for everybody in the ecosystem so that adoption begins? Because the journey is actually about adoption starting. Absolutely thrilled to moderate this session with all of you. Thank you so much for your time, and I turn it back to you, Ivan. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're absolutely right, Chaitali. Some great insights shared by the 3 gentlemen on the panel on how CIOs can drive organization change. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking time off from your busy schedules and joining us at this summit. We wish you and your respective organizations the very best going forward. And Chaitali, thank you so much for doing a fantastic job of moderating this wonderful panel.
Thank you.
You stay tuned in, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back on the other side with the next session.